I have spoken that variously, that I'll meet the NUP. We have written to them, they received our letter. We are waiting for the appointment. They are a party, we cannot push them, but at least we did what is decent to formally write and ask for audience as the DA. So we are waiting their response on that invitation. Yeah. It's a new day indeed for us as the Democratic Alliance, because when we set out to move and consult with stakeholders, we mentioned political parties as top of our consultations. We met the Justice Forum Party, we have met the FDC, our next destination is going to be PPP, and others on our catalogue. I want to warmly thank the President of the FDC and his team for receiving us warmly, and what he has said before you is a full representation of what we have canvassed this morning. All I can add is that we have discussed the urgency with which this push must pick traction, and that we have agreed on obligations of each of the parties. He has mentioned what he's going to do as head of the FDC with his team, and as the DA, where we believe we need to do more, as they have advised us, we are going to move. We have this one country called home, all of us to save, and it's the reason why we are here. We will meet everybody, like I said. We will meet everyone willing to make a contribution to ensuring that the next election represents the wishes, including the frustrations of our community peoples, for the sake of change in Uganda. You are aware as the media that the conversation about the transition is ongoing, but ongoing shabbily in a manner that is probably fraudulent. And it's our job as political actors in this space to stop a fraudulent transition of power from one group or an individual to another. And that's why we are here rallying our comrades to realize that all of us occupy a common space, and therefore we must occupy to fruition. You are aware that the FDC is well represented in Parliament, and therefore, out of this conversation, I have no reason to doubt that the FDC members of Parliament will come on board and try to make push out of this effort to ensure that the next electoral cycle is not a ritual.
For the record, this meeting was as a result of a request by the coordinator of the Democratic Alliance to engage with us over electoral reforms and the transition in the governance of this country. And so as the FDC, we found no problem whatsoever to hold this joint meeting with our colleagues who are stakeholders in the politics of this country. And we don't have any problem at all meeting anybody. We maintain an open door policy as the FDC, and we are open to dialoguing with like-minded people involved in the politics of this country. Therefore, we have held deliberations that have taken nearly 2 hours, and I must qualify these the deliberations as cordial and fruitful. That we have engaged each other, talked about the politics of this country with a focus to the future of this country that we all believe should be a better country for the citizens and the visitors to this country to live in. The Democratic Alliance has presented reforms proposed reforms contained in this document. This is an abridged version of the reforms and transitional arrangements that they have put across and brought to our attention. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the Right Honourable Matthias Mpuuga for dusting up the several documents that have gathered dust in the shelves of this country, including the shelves of Parliament, and bringing it to the fore. This is something that we had expected our friends from the National Unity Platform to take a lead in. But as nature abhors a vacuum, I think the DA has picked up the pieces and said, we want to advance this, come along with us. And therefore I must confirm that in keeping with our wishes as the FDC, we appreciate these electoral reforms and the transitional provisions. And indeed, just to add on to this is a matter that I addressed the media over about 1.5 weeks ago, and we did call on the government of Uganda, the NRM, to listen to the voices of the opposition in actualizing electoral reforms and transitional arrangements so that we may have a free, fair, and credible election. That said, we have also agreed that these electoral reforms do not have to be pegged to the coming elections. That this country is not about to go somewhere else. That even after the elections, we are going to have Uganda, the nation of Uganda. And that if anything can be achieved, even if they are the bare minimum, then we will go for it. And I think FDC is very, very happy with that position. That said, fellow Ugandans, we as an institution, the FDC, are structured. We have got organs of the party under which we operate. And therefore, going forward, what has been discussed today in a closed session is going to be taken to the organs of the party. This is going to be top on our agenda in the working committee tomorrow, and we'll be digesting and discussing this and processing whatever has been forwarded by our friends. This will then find its way to the National Executive Committee, which is one of the top organs of the FDC, for further discussion. We believe, and this came out in our discussion, that there will come a stage where a small think tank, a small group will be put together to discuss possibilities of pushing for these electoral reforms. Indeed, we did agree that pressure must be mounted on the NRM to ensure that what we have desired in the nearly 20 years of the reemergence of the multi-party political dispensation sees the light of day, and that we may have reforms to the way we do our politics. Finally, it's also been agreed that we owe to Ugandans a duty to popularize these electoral reforms. And as the FDC, we had already started with this. In our 20 years of existence, we've been doing this. We are just only going to be intensifying this and calling on the public to put pressure on the NRM regime to ensure that the reforms that are so much sought sought by the Ugandan public, by the Ugandan citizens, are actualized. This is all that I have to say.